review book one was all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a transformational seminar leader. And of course, an author too, none other than Miss Tamara Andreas.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I'm so honored to be here as your guest and to be introduced to your audience.
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Mara. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Okay. So I have, well, a little over 30 years ago now, I co-authored a book with my sister Connie Ray Andreas on the topic is core transformation, and that's a method. It's a gentle inner process for personal change, for transforming behaviors, thoughts, or feelings that we don't like. And the process feels like being kind to ourselves. And so, yeah, so even 30 years ago, I was already a trainer and a seminar leader, and then when I learned core transformation, this became a focus of my work, and I'm just delighted that I had a chance to co-author the book on it with Connie Ray.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Tamara. Thank you. And today let's talk about the core transformation. So tell us, the idea of solving a problem without struggle seems counterintuitive. How do you define this inner struggle, and why is our common approach of fighting our problems so fundamentally flawed?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, when we're talking about things that we struggle with, it could be any kind of thought pattern or emotional experience or behavior that we don't like. So it could be something like judging ourselves or blaming ourselves or other people, feelings like anger or anxiety or sadness or overwhelm. Could be habits like eating something that we don't want to be eating or eating too much of it, or getting defensive or yelling at the kids, or whatever it might be. And so usually when something happens like that that we don't like, we just try to stop doing it. We kind of fight with ourselves, and so oftentimes that doesn't work, and it can even make it worse, because when we fight with ourselves, then there's something in us that fights back, right? And so that's why struggling to change can, it just doesn't work very well.
When someone is deeply identified with a problem, feeling I'm anxious, I'm failure, what is the first most accessible shift they can make to begin seeing the problem as something they have, not something they are?
Okay, yeah, that's a great perspective already. And that fits so well with this process that we are using. So, like, let's say the example that you gave of somebody feeling anxious. And so the first thing to recognize is that it isn't all of you that is creating that anxious experience. It's just a part of you, because you want to change it, right? So some of you wants to change it. So it can't be all of you. It's just a part of you, and it's happening unconsciously. So if it were in our conscious control, then we would have already changed it just by deciding to do something different, deciding we don't like that. Then we would have already changed it, because we haven't been able to change it just by deciding to do something else or to feel something else. That shows that it's an unconscious part of us that's generating it. And so yeah, so it isn't me that is anxious. It's a part of me that's generating this feeling of anger, and that same part of me we can work with. Actually, it's that part of me, the same part that's causing the problem, is actually the key to the solution as well.
What does it mean to transform a problem, Miss Tamara? As opposed to solving, fixing, or defeating it?
Yeah. So, so a lot of people think about problems as something to solve in the sense of understanding it. Like if I can just figure this out and understand it well enough, well, then surely the problem will go away. However, that usually just doesn't work very well, you know. So what that leads to is it just leads to understanding, you know. But you know, there are so many people who have said, you know, I could understand everything about this problem and where it came from and how I got it and, you know, why I don't need to be doing it anymore, but the problem still keeps happening. And so we're not problem solving in the sense of figuring something out. We're transforming it by using a specific step-by-step process that leads us to the exact right resource that can transform it, that can change it from the inside out without even effort.
We often speak about the power of awareness. How does simply bringing gentle, non judgmental awareness to problem actually begin to change it without any further action?
Yeah, well, I would say that that can be a useful shift already. And for many people in their experience, that isn't enough to fully change the issue that they've been, you know, working with. And that said, so with core transformation, that's kind of like the, you know, one of the first steps that we do is we approach this inner part of us that has been generating maybe anxiety or something else. So, and so we approach this part of us in a non-judgmental way and even thank that part for being there. And that does already begin to shift our experience of it. And you know that's just the beginning, though. There's more that we can do to really fully transform the experience of whatever we consider to be a problem.
Miss Tamara, let's talk about the mechanic of effortless change.
Okay.
It says that we resist, persist. How does our inner struggle and resistance actually food energy to the problem we are trying to solve?
Yeah. So so for example, there's a man who was in sales, and he felt in a sales situation, he felt this inner pressure to make the sale. And what he found was that the more that he tried to not experience that, the more he tried to stop the pressure, the worse it got. And that's because the sense of pressure, it was generated by this inner part of himself. And you know, when this happens, this inner part of us is trying to accomplish something positive. So in this case, it may have been trying to create a sense of safety for him. It may have been trying to make sure that he, you know, got something to happen in the world, that he was successful at something. It may have been trying to connect with other people. Who knows what it was trying to do? You know, we can't know that just by figuring it out consciously. Um, but the unconscious part of us knows what it wants. So it's trying to get something positive. It's not going to let go of that pattern just by, you know, by us trying to stop doing it. So we need to work through that part to help the part get its deepest need met. When the deepest need of that part is met, then it becomes easy for the problem to go away. It just kind of dissolves.
Interesting, Miss Tamara. And how does one learn to access the witness or observer within the part of us that can see the problem without being fully entangled in it, especially in the heat of a stressful moment?
Mm, that's a good question. So, the first thing is, I don't recommend doing this in the heat of a stressful moment. So, this is something that we can do as an exploration sometime in a quiet moment. We can then explore and step back into the experience and access, the feeling, the stressful feeling or whatever it was, the stressful feeling, we can access that, and then through that we can discover that part. As far as how we can do this, it's usually easier. Some people can do this just from the book. They can just read the book and follow the steps that are all in the book and guide themselves through the process. Many people find it's easier at first to be guided by somebody else the first few times of experiencing it, and then over time, though, almost everybody, if they want to, can get to a point where they can guide themselves through the process.
A major source of struggle is the endless cycle of negative thinking. How can we relate to our anxious or self critical thoughts in a way that doesn't involve arguing with them or trying to forcefully push them away?
Okay, so like, what would be an example of a negative thought that you have in mind?
That I'm always struggling to cope up with my quota for my interviews every day.
Okay, all right. And like, what do you say to yourself when you are in this kind of struggle?
I said, I can do it. I
Oh,
can do this. I will
okay.
be successful in all my interviews.
Okay. And so what is the thought that you want to change that happens? What is the thought that you notice sometimes that isn't so supportive that you want to change?
I want to change the negative to positive.
Okay, so when you say negative thought, like for example, some people have negative thoughts like, "Oh, um, this is going to go badly," or "I'm not sure if I can do this," or "I hope that they don't figure out that I'm just faking it," or that kind of thing. Um, and I'm not saying that these are true of you. I'm just giving examples of negative thought patterns that I've heard from some other people. And so like if we pick one of those, like, "Oh, this is you know, this is gonna go terribly." If I have this kind of thought, "Oh, it's gonna go terribly," and I don't wanna think that way. So what I can do is step into the situation and, so as the situation that I'm in when this thought happens, like not at the moment when I'm preparing for the podcast, but like maybe the next day thinking back about it. I can step into it, when I have some time and space to explore it, and I'm not under pressure. So I can step back into it and I can experience that thought of, as an example, oh, things are going to go badly, or I'm worried what somebody will think of me, or something like that. So as I notice that thought happen, then I notice, where is the unconscious part that is generating that's generating this thought? Now, that might seem like a funny thing to do. What do you mean, where? It's in your head, right? But actually, when we really tune into the experience, it might be in the head or it might be in the body someplace. There might be like a voice out here, that's talking into my ear or something like that. So we notice, where is the part of me? Then we welcome this inner part and we thank it for being there because we know that it wants something positive. So like if I role play this and kind of step into, what if I have a thought of, okay, the other person is going to think badly of me. I have this part that's thinking that. So then let's say I notice the part back here, like the back area of my head. I thank the part for being there. And I ask the part, what do you want? And then and then I ask the part, what do you want? And then I wait to notice what response comes back. And for example, the answer that comes back, it might be, well, I want to be okay, or I want to be accepted, or I want to know that I'm good enough, or who knows what it might be. Those are just some examples that kind of come to me as I'm kind of stepping into a role play. And so then what we do is, whatever answer we get, we thank the part for the answer. And we say, okay, thank you for this response. And then and by the way, at this point, we've already changed our experience of it because we're not struggling with it. We're exploring, we're welcoming this part, and we're asking the part, what do we want? So we're working with the part, not against it. And so that's, like if the part says, I want to be accepted, so that then is the first positive purpose of this part. And then with the core transformation process, we don't stop at that. We explore to discover deeper and deeper level purposes of this part until we get to what we call a core state. And the core state is the deepest yearning of this part. It's always at a beingness level. It may be something like a sense of presence or wholeness or inner peace or love, and not just like loving or being loved by somebody else, but like a state of love that just is, or oneness, or sometimes it's something that's even hard to put into words because it's an experience of it. The person might just say, oh, it's isness or something, because there isn't really a word for it. And then the core state, becomes the resource that transforms this whole pattern, that transforms, when this part of us is in the core state, when it's in what it most deeply has been wanting all this time, then it doesn't need to engage in these, various kinds of patterns that really were kind of self-defeating. Instead, it can have access to a wider range of choices. It can choose something that actually works to support our experience in the situation.
Miss Tamara, as a seminar leader and author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Oh, well, thank you. So my I have a number of goals. One of my goals is that, I want to reach more people with this method because I just hate to see people struggling when things could be so much easier for them and people could experience so much more of their own inner well being without a lot of time or effort typically. And so that's what I want, is to bring core transformation more to the world. That's one of my goals. um, I also have, I'll admit, another goal of writing another book on a different topic. And that said, I don't want to distract, our conversation here, but there is another topic that I have in mind that at some point in the next couple of years, I would like to come back to and write a book about. And I'll let you know more about that when I have written it. You'll be one of the first to know.
Yes, good luck for that, Miss Tamara, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be an author like you, as well as a seminar leader?
Yeah. So somebody who wants to be an author, for example, is, let's see, well, one thing I'll tell you is when I was writing this book, there were times when I got stuck. It felt like it was kind of putting myself out in the world in a much bigger way than I had before. Although, before I wrote this book, I already did lead seminars and trainings, but still, writing a book, it's like it could go all over the world, in an instant almost. And so I needed to work with some things that were holding me back. And I actually found core transformation to help me a lot. So the process I was writing the book about also helped me to transform the things that had been holding me back about becoming an author, about putting a book out there into the world. And yeah, so that's one piece of advice. A second piece of advice is just that, um, you know, you have something to share, and the world, probably needs what you have to offer, and so don't worry about having it be perfect. Um, you know, uh, Find what you have to share, and then just start anywhere. Start writing it down and get feedback from other people, and just start anywhere. Start with one little piece, and it's starting with a little piece that can take you ultimately to where you want to go.
Well, thank you for that advice, Miss Tamara. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Hmm. Well, since my field is and my journey is all about personal change and personal transformation, and so therefore the books that have been most influential are also in this category. And so, besides, this book that I helped write, um, there's another book that has information in it that's been very influential for my journey, and that is um, the Wholeness Work Essential Guide. And this is by Connie Ray. And I didn't co author this one. This is by Connie Ray Andreas. She's my sister, and she is the one who has developed both of these processes, the wholeness work and core transformation. And I found that this method also has been very influential for me and my journey. That when I learned that, it really supports my ongoing journey, and I find it to be very compatible with core transformation.
Thank you for that recommended books, Miss Tamara. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And how does self compassion act as a key that unlocks the door out of inner struggle? Is it a prerequisite or a natural result of this practice?
Yeah, it's both. Actually, it's both. So, in order to really communicate with the inner part that has been creating the problem, we need to have at least a little bit of self-compassion already, and we at least need to be open to the possibility that this part may want something positive. Be open to the possibility of discovering something positive about this part. So that's the first thing. Then, as we experience the process, that sense of self-compassion just tends to grow and grow and grow to the point where we don't even need to, consciously take it on anymore. It just becomes automatic because we can recognize right off the bat, no matter what we're working with, we can start to recognize, okay, this part also is going to have a positive purpose, because they all do. Every part that we work with ends up wanting something positive, and through this process can be our ally and can lead us to an incredible resource, sorry, an incredible resource of inner well-being.
Miss Tamara, to sort of wrap up our discussion for today, is the goal to eventually live a life free of inner struggle altogether, or is it to develop a fluid, resilient relationship with the struggle so that no longer defines your experience?
Hmm. That might depend on semantics a little bit. What do we really mean about struggle? What I would say is that in my life, I continue to have some challenges. And I like what you're saying there, a fluid relationship with these things, so that when I notice a sense of, oh, here's something difficult, here's a challenge, I can go from this to working with in a way that transforms it so that I can bring my best energy to it. I can use my life forces and my energies for the best possible purpose, and and to bring about something in the world, to accomplish something or make some kind of interact in a certain way, or do what it is that I want to be doing in the world.
Miss Tamara, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so, oh, does that mean that our
Yeah,
time
go
is up?
ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead, Miss.
So just very quickly, you can connect with my work at andreasnlp.com/free, and you can find some free resources that way. And also by browsing on the website, you can find my book, you can find some the other options. And so there's really a lot of possible options there. Starting with some of the free things, though, can be a really great way to get started.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Tamara Andreas, because if you support her for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come, more and more empowering seminar later to come. So, Miss Tamara, thank you so much for your time.
You're so welcome. And I wish you and your audience just a wonderful path, a wonderful journey through life.
Marticon people, see you soon.